to dump the EU costs, but no one did.
Well, actually, I've got to interrupt you. Here's a really good point here about newspapers. Chaz in Newark says, how come the newspapers are all anti-EU?
They are vaguely anti-EU, but they don't say what I've been saying tonight. How many newspapers admit the nation's been abolished? Why doesn't the Daily Mail start
Well, I think the Express had a headline saying just that, didn't it?
Right. OK, well then, why don't they start a campaign to get a general strike going? A strike against the EU and a strike against our corrupt politicians at Westminster until they either resign or repeal the treaties.
Is it not the case that, you know, the laws about striking are such that to solicit a general strike would possibly be illegal?
I think that's only a case if it's a trade union. We are not a trade union, we're just the people of England. So I think it would be perfectly OK.
OK.
Another thing we could do is we need a 1 million strong permanent demonstration in Westminster. And that's the reason that under the Serious Organised Crime and Police Act 2005, they've made it illegal to demonstrate within 1 kilometre of Westminster.
Well, you have to have a licence to demonstrate,
exactly.
So you can apply for that.
Yeah.
And also, 2 million people demonstrated against the war in Iraq, and we still had a war in Iraq.
Yeah, but it effectively needs to be a blockade of London until they resign.
But in 1990, we had the poll tax protests, and that had an effect, didn't it?
Yes.
So-called poll tax riots.
Yeah, but see, that wasn't really affecting core EU policy, so they didn't really change anything, they just changed the name of it.
Well, they abolished the poll tax and put it back to council tax rates.
Yeah,
you know,
they
rates.
renamed it council tax, basically.
Yeah, well, no, that's not true, because poll tax was a tax on the individual.
It still is a tax on the individual.
And it went back to being a tax on the property.
No, it used to be a tax on property, but council tax is now a tax on the individual, very definitely. Council tax is poll tax. They just renamed it. That's all.
Well,
yes.
I'm not sure I agree with you there.
No.
But
if you own no property and you just rent a room, you get taxed council tax. It's got nothing to do with property. You get taxed as an individual. It's a fact.
Okay.
A third thing is national civil disobedience would do it. If we refuse to pay taxes to our corrupt government, which has no legal right to be there anyway, refuse to cooperate with them in any way, and this would have to be on a large scale, it'd be at least 10 million people.
It's going to be very hard, isn't it? Because 1 or 2 people say, well, I'm not going to pay my tax. Then, obviously, they're going to go straight to jail. Do not pass go. It's going to be, you know, it's very hard to have that mass movement all of a sudden.
That's why we need the newspapers again. We need newspapers, 100,000 circulation minimum. And of course, the really easy way to do it is to persuade our military to arrest our criminal politicians and put them on trial for treason. Just a march up to Westminster, slap the whole lot in the cells, put them up before judges, and of course you would have to have every judge screened to make sure he's not a Freemason, or you wouldn't get a fair outcome. But
you said earlier that every judge is a Freemason.
No. Pretty well all judges are Freemasons. You can find handfuls. You can find honest judges. There are a small number of honest judges. If not, we'll have to appoint some.
Sorry?
If not, we'll have to appoint some. So those are the 4 national campaigns.
Well, this sounds like the October Revolution, doesn't it? I mean, this is 1917. You're actually suggesting that, you know, we storm the Bastille. I know I'm mixing my revolutions here. Or you know...
Yeah, the difference between us and the Bastille is all we want is to uphold our existing constitution, which our corrupt and criminal Parliament, Westminster, is destroying. Westminster is a puppet of the European Union. It is not our Parliament.
But surely you would also be suggesting that we get rid of our royal family, from what you've said.
Yeah, we need a decent English royal family. You're right. We do.
What about a Welsh royal family? Okay. You know, the ancient...
Yeah, British royal family. We need a British royal family, not a German one.
Okay, Britons.
Yeah, we need Britons. Yeah.
Okay, well, Okay, well, obviously this is not necessarily the policy of this programme that you should revolt. I think most of our audience...
We're not actually
revolting,
you know.
Sorry?
All we're trying to do is uphold the British Constitution. We're not actually revolting.
So this is a peaceful process, is it?
Well, it'd be great if it was. So anyway, those are the 4 national campaigns. General strike, permanent, huge demonstration, national civil disobedience, or the military to arrest our criminal politicians. Those are the 4 national campaigns.
And these are all on your website?
Yes.
Which is eutruth.org.uk.
Yeah. And then we can run local campaigns as individual people. So the most powerful and simple, and UKIP and the BNP could have done this so easily, is we need to change the minds of 70 MPs to get Lisbon repealed, right? So if we just go and visit these MPs, point out that Westminster is bound to be abolished by the EU, they will lose their comfortable $240,000 a year salary and expenses. And of course, every dictatorship always eliminates those that put it in power, because if they put it in power, they can take it out of power. So MPs are going to be under a huge threat once Westminster goes.
But it's too late.
Yeah,
when the EU says, if what you were saying is correct, and let's suppose for a moment that is the case, if the EU eventually says, well, actually we don't need a parliament anymore, so chara, go home.
Yep.
The MPs are not going to be able to say, oh, hold on, are they? It's too late.
No. If Westminster is still standing and MPs still exist, they
but
could.
Won't
they will
all be
always
on quangos.
Yeah. Well, if they're on 300,000 a year in quangos, okay, they may do nothing. But if they can't be bought off, you will notice that Jackie Smith set up FTAC in 2005.
Fixated Threat Assessment.
Yes, centre.
Something centre. Yes.
Yes. And what that is the government can arrest anyone they want to with psychiatric stroke mental reasons as the excuse, and subject them to electric shock treatment in the attempts to cure them, water treatment, effectively torture. And they tried this out on 168 people. One man from Plymouth wrote a letter to Jackie Smith objecting to her setting up a police state. He was seized by FTAC. What a perfect body, Soviet style, to control any Westminster politicians. Dissident Westminster politicians. Ideal. It's how they did it in the Soviet Union. Blow me down, they set up the same thing here. This is the future that any dissident Westminster MP is looking at. He's looking at being institutionalised, held against his will, and losing his $240,000 a year. Why shouldn't he swap sides?
I have to say that has some attraction, doesn't it?
Yes. So, if we had 10,000 people, we've got 646 MPs, that's more than 10 people to an MP. Every week, someone should be sat in front of their MP saying, do you want to lose your $240,000 a year? Do you want to have electric shock treatment in a hospital behind bars for the rest of your life because you're a dissident? Maybe not. Maybe you should vote against the EU dictatorship.
Well, they can't vote. There is no vote, is there?
No. A private member's bill can be brought in by any one of them.
Yes, and then the government says no thanks, doesn't it?
No,
That's what always happens.
No. If they get enough of them, they can vote it through. They can get it out. They can throw Lisbon out. They still can. So that's another campaign. It's a very effective campaign.
Well, someone is saying here, arrange a strike date on your website, and when we get enough people prepared to do it, we'll go ahead. And they say, remember Rage Against the Machine, the Christmas #1, which was the response to some appalling television programme that always got its song at #1.
Yep. We need to hit more people. We need to hit, we need to hit 100,000 people in a month. We're only hitting 6,000 in a month at the moment. We need 100,000 people as an absolute minimum to do something on that
Someone
scale.
here is saying, hey Theo, how do we get the population of the UK to combine with the nutters, as we are called, who speak the truth? That's the barrier, isn't it? You've sat on this programme tonight, and you've said a lot of things which many people will probably think are too insane, too crazy to be true. Now, I don't know whether they're true or not. We give you a platform to say those things, but a lot of people who watch it will be, perhaps intrigued, perhaps a little bit believing, perhaps a little bit disbelieving.